Hi, everybody. J. Patrick Lamar here, back again with Chapter 3 of The Witches of Greyfolk. Chapter 2 was a shorter chapter, to be sure. Chapter 3 is a short one as well. So I'm filming it just after filming Chapter 2, still here in the same clothes. I did recap last time what had happened in Chapter 1, so I'll recap for you now Chapter 1 and 2, just as a refresher. Now, if you haven't watched or listened to Chapter 1 and 2 yet, you can find those videos. Links are down in the description. If you want to download a free digital copy of The Witches of Greyfolk and read along, you're more than welcome to do that, and I'm more than happy to share it with you. So just check the links down below. You'll find a free download link down there. And then the only other thing I would say is if you don't prefer to read on a digital device and you'd like a paperback copy of this particular story, you can get that. It's included in my Tales of the Evermore Volume 1 book, and the link to my store will be in the description as well. So, previously in Chapter 2, Azael and the captain had already escaped from the witches and found themselves just outside of Greyfolk. There, they met a new character, Dark, who claims to be from another world in which every person's story has been written. He claims to know Azael's story and that Azael is bound for trouble. He says his desire is to help change Azael's course, or to nudge him on his path in a different way to prevent some of what's coming for Azael. Azael proves resistant to this idea. He wants to leave and go on his merry way, when Dark basically pleads with him to come with him to Greyfolk to help save the townspeople, because the witches that they escaped from in the first chapter are clearly going to come and be looking for a fight, and they're going to find the poor people of Greyfolk there, and they'll slaughter them if somebody's not there to stand in their way. So Dark says, listen, you come with me, I think we can stop them together. Azael says, no, I don't owe them anything, I'm going my own way. And this is where he and the captain kind of part ways. The captain says, they're not my people. I don't know what I can do for them, but I'm not going to leave them to be eaten or worse by these witches. So I'm going with Dark, and I'll help him. Azael then threatens Dark, hey, you better take care of him. You better make sure he has a sword, make sure he has what he needs. And Dark says not to worry about that he will do his best. So that's where we left them. They were separated. They were going their separate ways. Now we pick up in Chapter 3, which is called Witchslayer. Nestled between the Benjur Hills, wherein the elves hunted down the last of Caidan's dark apprentices, and the mighty river Kresh, which flowed some 4,000 kilometers before emptying into the Hama Basin, Greyfolk had become a frequent stop along the trade route of goods flowing downriver to coastal cities such as Stonehall and Bramblin, from mighty kingdoms like Delvingholm and the capital city of Men, then called Barahun. Though small and somewhat isolated from other towns in the region, Greyfolk had developed a reputation as a growing city of commerce, and thus had drawn to its citizenry many craftsmen and smiths who had grown tired of the competition of the larger cities, threatening to drive them out of business. One such smith, a man of the West named Edwin Creel, was known far and wide for forging blades so fine they were the envy of kings. His process was steeped in secrecy, but it was said that he spent upwards of a full year forging a single sword, and sold his finished works for so dear a price that only a few dozen men would ever know the glory of wielding such a weapon. He had retreated to Greyfolk not for fear of competition, but for the simplicity of life and privacy afforded him in the diminutive river town. Before laying down roots in Greyfolk, Creel had heard the rumors of disappearances and sinister secrets seeded throughout the town's history. One couldn't live there long without hearing the legend of the witches, 3 sisters of the gray-skinned folk for whom the town was named, cannibals, if the tales were to be believed. He had not considered that those tales could be true until his apprentice, a young woman named Kara, had been taken in the night and never returned. Creel had ridden out with more than a dozen other men from the town and searched along the riverbank. They had swept over the hills and valleys and even ventured deep into the woods against the advice of the town elders. Kara was lost, he was now convinced, never to return, and within Creel burnt a righteous need to punish those responsible. The swordsmith had chosen to forego a new apprentice for a season, and focused all of his effort and skills on forging a blade unlike any forged by men, or at least to his limited knowledge of their history, elves. The result was the pinnacle of his creative prowess, a blade stronger and sharper than any he had known, and coated tipped to hilt in the finest silver. It was not enchanted, as elven blades sometimes were, nor was it blessed by saints or the powers of old. Still, he wagered it would hew a witch in twain with little resistance. At least it would in the hands of the right swordsman. The sun had set many hours earlier the night the wizard boy and pirate captain escaped from the witches of Greyfolk, and though unaware of the danger to come, Edwin Creel was wide awake with his thoughts fixated on revenge. So lost was he in his thoughts that he nearly didn't hear the footsteps approaching the entrance of his shop. The door was strong and bolted tight, yet creaked open slowly, as if it offered no resistance to whoever sought entrance in the dead of the night. Only a single oil lamp was lit, so Creel stepped back into the shadow and awaited whatever thief felt more bold than wise. "You are Creel," a voice said from outside. "A swordsmith of fine reputation. Step out from the shadows, friend, for I mean you no harm." "Show yourself," Creel demanded, and the stranger obliged. The traveler wore a hooded cloak, similar to the raiment of the host. "You've suffered a loss at the hands of the Greyfolk witches," the man said, "and have since forged a weapon meant for their destruction, the blade called Witchslayer, which seems a bit on the nose, if you'll pardon the honesty." "Who are you?" "My name is Dark," the stranger said, "and you have nothing to fear from me, Edwin Creel. I've come to avenge the fallen of Greyfolk." "And what know you of my blade?" "Only what I've said," Dark replied. "You forged it with revenge in mind, coated it in silver for its purity, and named it Witchslayer. Meant, if I recall, to carve your revenge for Cara Dunhill and to the Witch Sisters, should you ever manage to find them." "How do you know of such things? I've not told anyone of my plans, nor of the blade." "I've read your story, Creel," Dark said. "Particularly the events that lead me to your door. Now, seek out the wisdom in your heart. It's telling you to trust me." "Say I do," Creel said. "That's nothing to hinge my hope upon. Perhaps I want the satisfaction for myself. Who are you to rob me of it?" "You're a smith. Your part of this business is nearly done. Place the sword in the hands of one who has mastered many weapons, and trust that I will see the witches dead." "And if I refuse?" Creel asked. "You'll soon learn of your folly," Dark said, "for the sisters are coming this very night, and they will no longer be looking to sate their hunger. Tonight they will destroy every man, woman, and child in this village to spell out a warning in your blood and drive fear deep into the hearts of the coming generations." "If what you say is true, you should have sent for the Beeman host instead of coming here," Creel said. "I meant to hunt the devils, not protect all the Greyfolk from their power unleashed." "The host," Dark said, "are like the mountains, ancient and unmovable. Your people would be stamped out of history before their council could even summon everyone to discuss the best course of action. No help will ride forth from Mount Luminor until long after the witches have picked what is left of you and your neighbors from their teeth. These are the facts you must face, swordsmith. Now what will you do?" "You could be lying," Creel said. "Perhaps, but I'm not." "You could be in league with the sisters." "Perhaps, but I'm not. Let wisdom lead. If my words do not strike a chord of truth, deny me. Either way, your decision will be made for you." The smith paced his floor, cursing beneath his breath. "How much time?" "Less than you've already taken," Dark replied. Creel nodded and retrieved a rather plain wooden box. 2 heavy iron hinges attached its lid, and as the smith opened it, the lamp's glimmer kissed the silver of the sword, and fireflies seemed to dance about the room. "It's beautiful," Dark said. "Just as I remembered." Creel closed the box and reluctantly slid it toward the stranger. "I'll need a scabbard," Dark said, "and your finest saber for my friend outside." All right, that's it. Chapter 3 of The Witches of Greyfolk, called Witchslayer. I hope you enjoyed that, and we will be back hopefully in just a few days with Chapter 4 to see where this thing's going next. I would love to hear from you guys as you're watching, as you're listening. Put comments and questions down below, and I'll get to as many of them as I can. As I said at the beginning of the video, if you'd like a digital copy of the complete story, you can download that. The links are in the description. If you'd like a paperback copy, Tales of the Evermore Volume 1 is the book that you want, and the link to my store is also in the description. You can find it there. Until next time, folks. Bye.